Election night, CBN founder Pat Robertson, CBN senior editor John Waage, and Jay Sekulow, the head of the American Center for Law and Justice, discussed how the election will affect some of the vital issues facing Israel, from the declaration of a Palestinian state to the future of Jerusalem.
We're establishing right now at the ACLJ a 100-day agenda that we're going to submit to the president-elect and to Congress to say this is what we think is realistic within this 100-day period and work there. And then watch any executive orders between now and the end of the year, and also watch an attempt by the Obama administration at the United Nations to call for the pre-67 borders for Israel. I expect that will go to the Security Council, and it may well be that the U.S. will not veto it. In fact, I pretty much know they will not veto it. So we've got a real fight on that front, too.
Thank you, Jay. John, what do you think? We're talking about Israel. The idea of them having a two-state solution imposed by the United Nations is anathema to Israel.
Israel is probably breathing a sigh of relief right now that you know, the pressure, all that pressure of 8 years of the Obama administration is off, and frankly, some pressure from the Bush administration through the State Department. It'll be interesting to see if the Trump administration launches reform of the State Department. One thing that they proposed on Israel, his top advisor, who may become the U.S. ambassador to Israel, is David Friedman. He, just last week, proposed moving the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and also recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Those are just two of the things he's recommended.
Well, you know, Congress voted that, and the State Department
in 1995 they voted that.
It's been hanging that long. We have the land, we have everything ready to move, and they said, no, the capital of Israel is Tel Aviv. That is insane.
But that's State Department entrenched policy, Republican and Democrat. The bureaucrats, they persist in keeping that going, and they'll continue to do it. And so he's going to have a battle on his hands for that. Not to mention the upset that could be caused within the Middle East over that issue. I mean, you're talking some serious inflammatory kind of moves there. But it's, many people believe, especially Christians, believe it's the right move.
And it's going to take extraordinary wisdom. So pray for the leaders and pray for our president.
Donald Trump will need prayer not only as he deals with Israel, but a host of foreign policy issues, from Europe to Russia and to ISIS. CBN News international correspondent Gary Lane discussed these topics with CBN senior reporter Dale Hurd and retired General Jerry Boykin, now with the Family Research Council.
General Boykin, one of the things that people are saying is that they are looking for strong leadership. Apparently they feel that's been lacking. What is it that they want?
Well, I think that they want a decisive leader. I think they wanted a leader that will listen to the subordinates. So in the case of, for example, our military, I think what our military wants is a commander-in-chief that will take their advice. Ultimately, the decision is his. Unfortunately, the current commander-in-chief has basically ignored his generals and his admirals, and I think that what the next president has to do is he has to put in new leadership and then let them be part of solving problems and developing a global strategy.
Donald Trump once said that he knows more about ISIS than the generals do. What about ISIS?
On the 3rd of October, a group of 130 of us, mostly retired generals and admirals, but we had other ranks as well, met with Trump up in Washington to talk about just this issue. And he gave us a pledge that he will not only bring in new leadership in our military, he would listen to them, he would task them to develop a strategy that he would approve and then give them everything they needed to execute that strategy. That's what we wanted to hear from him.
I want to talk to you more about that in a moment, but Dale, how about Europe? What are they looking for in an American president?
They're looking for Hillary Clinton. That's who they're looking for. Trump is a disruptor. You know, I think of Trump as a Reaganist figure in the sense that, you know, Reagan came along after other presidents had tried to make deals with the Soviets, and he said, no, I'm not going to play ball anymore. I'm going to challenge the Soviet Union. And I think Trump, in the same way, will be a disruptor and challenge the European Union and challenge this globalist idea in Europe.
General Boykin, tell me about Syria, the Russians. This president has taken them on a bit. We don't have any talks with them right now to end that war in Syria. How would Trump be different?
I think that Trump is very serious about dealing with the Russians. We hear all the campaign rhetoric about Trump being a friend of Vladimir Putin. That's not true, and I think that he'll take a very realistic approach to dealing with Putin. The answer is ultimately not war, but the answer is standing up to him in many of these places, like Syria, where he has expanded his influence because he has a long-term strategic plan. That's where we come back to the lack of a plan for America. No strategy. Therefore, Putin is exploiting the fact that we don't really have a strategy in the Middle East in general, but we don't have a strategy with ISIS and the global jihad network.
Let me ask you, because you covered the Cold War, are you concerned at all that Trump's, what's called his isolationism, will create some kind of vacuum and tempt Putin?
He wants to secure the border and stop the flow of immigrants to a certain extent. I'm sure he'll allow some in, but those that will be of value to the society, not those who want to change it, and also those who will not threaten the society. But I don't really see him being isolationist. I know they fear that, don't they? I'm sure you've heard a lot of that in Europe when you travel around.
In my opinion, you stand up to the Russians, you tend to prevent accidents in Europe.
Yeah.
Will Trump do that?
Yes, I think Trump will stand up to the Russians, and you know,
General, what can you do short of war, though?
So what do we do? I think there are a variety of things that we can do to stand up to the Russians, not the least of which is behind closed doors diplomacy to let the Russians know after the 20th of January that there's a new man on